looking back, university was just a joke. It was just fun. I, did it. But I think in the back of my head, I was always just like, how is this going to make me money? How is this going to build a life I want to build? Got fired, went home to my mum and was like, that degree I didn't really do much for me. Just got fired. And she was like, but then I said, look, I'm setting up a recruitment business. So I did that for 4 years and it was kind of golden handcuffs. It was making money, but I hated it. Surely there's got to be something that if I put time into on the front end, for the end of it, for the rest of life, it will pay me back. And basically what I was describing was assets. And I bought 15 properties in my first 9 months, which I used to build the portfolio, which is worth about 1.3 million. Managing 5 away from home, it actually broke me. I had a full breakdown. I was just like, I can't do this. This is nuts. A lot of sacrifice, a lot of hard work, a lot of things that you wouldn't do in a 9 to 5. There's the comfort that you have in a 9 to 5 is not there. I've had one builder once call me, be like, oh, Tej, can you transfer 57p to my account? I need to get a little
property. Sounding like you might just be going away. What's the reason for that? Welcome to the Takeoff Experience, where I sit down with highly driven people to talk about their journey, their failures, and their successes. If you want to take off in your career, your business, your finances, or your mindset, then this podcast is for you. This episode is sponsored by MoneyHub, a secure money management app that helps you to manage your money with ease. The MoneyHub app allows you to have a single view of all your accounts by allowing you to connect your bank accounts, savings accounts, credit cards, and investments all in one place. To help you with your money goals, MoneyHub has features to allow you to track your incomings versus your outgoings every single month, and also has features to help you set and track your spending budgets every single month too. It's a fantastic app, right? Well, you can download the app for free by tapping the link in my description, and you get all of these features free for 6 months with no auto renew. And if you really enjoy the app, you can continue with it for only £1.49 per month. It's the deal of the century. So make sure to go and download the app right now. Enjoy the rest of the episode. Welcome back to the Takeoff Experience. We have a very, very special guest in the building. How are you doing today, Tej?
I'm good. I haven't recorded a podcast, even my own ones, in a long time.
Really?
Yeah, I've just been busy with life, getting married, go honeymoon, go on stag, doing my own residential house, which is totally different to investment. So yeah, I'm excited to be here, man. And talk.
Wow. When did you get married?
Married in, I should know this, huh?
Yeah. You should, yes, you should know this.
Married early August. We had 2 weddings, like 2 big Indian weddings. But yeah, early August. And I went on my stag after my wedding.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
why?
I injured myself the day before going on my stag originally, and I couldn't. So I was like, boys, sorry. I moved it after, which was better because it was less busy.
Yeah.
The kind of the drug use in Ibiza was less at that time.
The drug use. Yeah. Okay.
It was just, it wasn't too packed. I could actually dance. I could actually move. So, and I don't drink, so I'm there to dance. So I need space. So it didn't work out for the better, but it worked out for the better.
Okay, nice. A beef. I was wondering why after. That's crazy. I got.
It's just how we do it these days, isn't it? It's just style.
And how many weddings did you say you had? You had like
2 weddings. Yeah, so I'm a Sikh, she's Hindu. So we had one kind of wedding each as such, and then one big party. So it kind of, and then during the week we have traditions that we do, cooking. It's a lot of partying and eating, which is the 2 things I love the most.
Wow, that's so insane. I've never actually been to an Indian wedding.
You're missing out.
I'd love to go to one day. It sounds amazing.
It's just. Yeah, a lot of people do a mad big and crazy and big and showing off money and all that, but ours wasn't like that. But it was just fun. Yeah, just good vibes. Beautiful old barn we had it in. Mm-hmm. It was just nice. My wife did a lot of planning. I have to say this on camera.
Yeah,
she did everything and it was amazing.
Okay, she did everything and you just contributed.
I just turned up. Yeah.
You just turned up
because I know she'll be like, "Oh, I heard you said this. You did something. I don't remember that." And I'm like, "Okay, right, mate."
Oh man, I mean, I suppose so. During that time, how was it for you? Was it quite busy?
It was busy because although she was doing most of it, I still had to make decisions, still had to chase suppliers. Yeah. I because I do property and it's every project is project management, and even just running a business is project management to an extent. Yeah. So organizing the wedding, for me, my mind just broke it down logically. This is a project. We've got an end date. We need this. We'll get 6 quotes each. If we like them, it was very logical to me. That's how my mind works. Whereas she was more maybe emotional, and she doesn't really project manage. She's a psychologist or a therapist, so she doesn't have that same like management. So I looked at it like, this is not that stressful. I'm sure I'll get some comments about that. But
because of all the stress that we'll find out after.
Yeah. So like, I just look at it logically and broke it down like I do with anything and said, okay, here's the steps, here's instructions. How do we get to the solution, and what are the problems and what are the obstacles? Like COVID, for example, we delayed it by like a year or 2 years. Various things, last minute people dropping out, this happening. So it was a project, but I think it's a lot more fun than a project.
Yeah.
But also maybe more stressful because you care. It's not like when I do a flip, for example. Obviously, it has to be beautiful. It has to look good. It has to have swag.
Yeah.
But it really isn't as much of a care as your own home or your own project. So, a lot of transferable skills, I would say.
Okay.
Like,
wow.
From planning.
That's crazy. And for the listeners who haven't met you before, I'm sure a lot of the listeners are going to be some of your listeners that will listen to this. Who is Tej?
So I am a property investor, landlord, you could say, podcaster, public speaker. I have 2 books on Amazon.
Yeah.
My podcast has nearly hit 1 million listens. We're at 912,000.
Wow, that's insane.
Yeah, because I said I've been lazy the past few months. We didn't get there. It is right now a pure property podcast. But it's actually changing. So by the time this gets released, it could be something, it should be something else. And that will kind of come. There'll be a launch party, all sorts of stuff around that.
A launch party?
So I love partying and eating.
You do,
so food and music, I'm there. So that's kind of what I've done. I bought 15 properties in my first 9 months.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about that.
Yeah,
that's insane.
I think I raised about £850,000 of investor finance. So like loans from people like you, like me, just anyone, which I used to build the portfolio, which is worth about 1.3 million, probably more now because markets go up and they go down. Done a few flips as well in the meantime, and I used to host networking events, which were really fun, to be fair. But it's all sort of changed with COVID, and I've invested in crypto, NFT, stocks and shares.
Wow, everything.
I get bored easily, as you can tell. And I am also buying businesses. So moving into the new year, I'm going to launch a restaurant or buy a restaurant. So kind of things are changing, things are kind of moving. But property has given me what I have today for sure.
Wow, that's insane. Okay, we're gonna take it back a notch a bit, because of course everybody's definitely gonna want to hear about the property, but obviously we want to get to know the person behind all of this. So you mentioned India. Is that where your parents from?
My parents are from Punjab, North India.
Okay.
And they moved here. My mum moved here when she was young from India. My dad moved here when he was a bit older from Africa. They went to Kenya.
Okay.
A lot of Indians, a lot of Punjabis in Kenya and Uganda. So they moved from there, when they were, 5 or 6, back in the kind of skinhead era when racism was slightly more obvious. Ain't changed that much, has it really? But it's, hasn't
really, but
but we all think it has. But in a period where obviously it was quite, I would say quite difficult for them. And there's, there's so much to talk about in that sense. But from Punjab, North India.
And were you born in India or here?
I was born here.
Okay, born
here. I think
London, somewhere else?
Yeah, West London, near Heathrow Airport, Hounslow. Okay. Or Southall is kind of where I was properly brought up, I suppose.
Yeah. And did you grow up in that area?
Yeah. So born in Hounslow, grew up in Southall and Hounslow. My parents divorced in 2002, so I grew up in kind of both. Okay. They're both very similar areas, I suppose. Like,
what's it like? Because I don't know them too well. I don't know Southall, Hounslow too.
It's all Indian. Everyone's Indian. Everyone's
really?
Brown. Yeah, like Southall especially is little Punjab. Okay. Now it has changed in the last, last 28 years since I can remember. Indians have moved out. They got more money. They've gone to like Denham and other kind of posh areas, and it's definitely become, I don't want to say worse, but it's become rougher.
Rougher? This is interesting, right?
I think it's because as a property investor, I see it as people, like families lived there. They then moved out because they got more money. They then rented the houses out, didn't care so much who it's rented to, antisocial behavior. There's just, as much as it's like zone 4 on the Crossrail, it's like, they got new builds there selling for 400 grand for a 1-bed. It's mad. I think it has got rougher over time. Like when I go back, and my dad still lives there, you sort of just, you hear things and you see things, and growing up there was amazing though, because I think culturally there, I'm a majority. In England, I'm a minority, of course, tiny minority.
Yeah.
So it's quite nice because it made me be in touch with my culture, learn my language, know how to read and write it, which is not easy because it's not you might call it symbols. Like it's not like Latin script.
Yeah, like Latin letters. Yeah.
So I think growing up there for me had a really positive impact because I got to learn more about me and my people.
Okay.
As opposed to if I grew up in, I don't know, the middle of Surrey in the countryside, like I might not know my history and the reality of the relationship between Britain and India as well. So there's lots of things that I learned.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful for being there.
Wow. That's so interesting. That is fascinating. I'm really
it's more
fascinated
interesting than
by
property, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, it is. It actually is. Wow. That's epic. Okay, so you obviously love the area. Did you go to school in the area too,
Yeah, I went to school in like Heston, which is basically Hounslow.
Okay.
Again,
okay.
all Indians.
Yeah.
Like 95% Indian, I think.
Okay.
And then African, Caribbean, and then like a tiny percentage of like English white people.
Yeah. And school-wise, what were you like? Were you good at school? Did you like school? Or were you a bit more on the non-educational vibe?
I definitely was like, I need to study and get good grades. It was definitely like a thing. Maybe that's like Indian parents being like, you gotta do what you got. Like it's just, you know what I mean? Like I wasn't like social like this. I wasn't, friendly. I'd say I was quite like tense, quite like angry, I suppose, as a kid. Like I was the total opposite of what I am now. In terms of like education, I'd B's and A's.
Okay. That's good. B's and A's.
Yeah. I mean, look, typical Indian, I'm like, I could have got A star. Like this close. But like, and then A level, same A's, and then, I definitely valued it. Looking back, university was just a joke. It was just fun.
Yeah. What did you study?
I studied biochemistry.
Okay, bio.
So I love science.
Yeah.
Health, fitness, science. I did then.
So
I still do now.
Pretty much did throughout.
Okay. Yeah. And even at like high school, I was like, I love biology. I love chemistry. This is it.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then when I got to uni at the time, I think there was always something in me that thought, why am I doing this? Like,
okay.
I kind of, if I wasn't studying a science, I don't think I would have gone to uni.
Really?
I think for certain vocations, like being a lawyer, doctor, scientist, etc., you need uni.
You defo need it, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's a prerequisite end of. Maybe now it's changed, I don't know. But back then it was. And so I, did it. But I think in the back of my head, I was always just like, how is this going to make me money? How is this going to build a life I want to build? But it didn't really come to the forefront. I just carried on, studied. I went to America for my second year, studied abroad, which was just incredible.
Yeah.
And I was never top of the class, but I wasn't never bottom.
Okay.
But and it still stays with me to this day, if I don't want to do something, it's so hard to make me do it.
Right.
And that's why having your own business is great, because it's like, if I don't want to do that, I'll outsource it. I'll pay someone else to do it, or I won't do it.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm changing from property, because I'm like, I'm cool. I'm done. We're cool. I'm going to keep buying property.
Yeah.
But we're cool. Next,
Wow. So I'm just so the whole business, education not really being from you, was there somebody else in your family that was into business, or was it just something that, there somebody that you looked up to that you're like, this is what?
I've been asked this question before, and there's no, I can't.
You don't know, you're not sure.
Yeah,
it might have just been that's naturally you just.
It might have been just rebellion from, like my parents, them being kind of. My dad's quite, I would say, a rebel to culture and to norms and traditions, and then my mum, to an extent, is as well.
Yeah.
So I think that came from them, and then. I'm trying to think, people say, oh, who did you look up to? Mark Cuban, or I don't know, something. You know what I mean? And I'm kind of like. Yeah, when I was younger, there wasn't necessarily, my dad had his own business as a photographer and videographer. He does all my stuff, he does all this for me. My mum was a head teacher, so and she still is. But there's no one, even uncles, aunties. I can't think of someone who had their own business. I think it was just a case of the logical thought or theory of why am I doing things I don't like? Life's too short. Why am I, and this sort of clicked as I got a job later on, and be like, why am I working 9 to 5, or 9 to 6 most of the time, even though my contract was 9 to 5. This also confused me. And I'm earning this, and then I go home, I spend an hour on the train, I eat, and I sleep, and I'm back here tomorrow. I'm like, I don't even like you lot I'm working with. I'm like, I barely like what I'm doing. I was just so confused. Logically, I was like, this does not make sense. There's got to be something else. And I just thought, I can do what I like. So therefore, if I'm going to launch XYZ business, I'll be good at it. So, and I'm very, very logical, like to my detriment. Like I lack empathy. So I think for me, it was just a logical thing of, nah, forget that. What are we doing? Like, what can I do? And I can do it.
Yeah. Wow. So what was that last job before you got into property? What were you doing?
So I got a job after uni after about 50 interviews, which they don't tell you this when you're going for a degree, right? Come in,
tough.
you know, you'll be in the top %, you'll get a job straight away. Got a job at like a medical education firm. So like marketing in medical, but for doctors and nurses.
Okay.
So you can't be as, like, you just have to be very, some people say boring, you know, statistical driven, etc. And then I was in there and I read this book by Ben Goldacre called Bad Pharma. Really good book for anyone to read. And also would be in the office and they'd say things like, yeah, so this drug costs an extra 3 million a year per patient or whatever it was. Yeah, the costs are incredible. And it, you know, it extends their life by 3 days.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, I don't mean to be crass here, yeah? And every day counts. But are we really spending £3 million of taxpayers' money on this novel drug that's amazing and we're bigging up that gave someone 3 days of extra life? Now, I appreciate that is an hour-long podcast in itself. Yeah, like what's the price of life? But you have to take a view on it, and this is where my lack of empathy helped or didn't help. And I said, this is stupid. Like, if you said to me, Tej, do you want an extra 3 days of life at the end of it, but you know, I don't know, your family, for example, are going to be paying this off for the next 10 years, which technically we all are through tax.
Yeah.
I'd actually be like, 3 days. I don't know. Like, it's easy for me to be like, no, I'd say, yeah, just you know, forget it. But my logical mind just says, this is nuts. Like, there has to be, and that's 3 days not proven. It could be 3 days, could be none.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, because you know, because it's drugs. You react differently to me.
Yeah, that's true.
And I'd hear things like this every day and be like, what? I'm supposed to promote this? Like, do you know what I mean? And so I left that job, got a big pay rise, like 40% pay rise, like wicked, at another similar business. I didn't really like the culture there. And basically I got fired, to be fair.
Okay.
Yeah, they put me in a room, you know, made me come in. I was like, flipping heck. You know, have my little packed lunch, everything ready for a normal day at work. Come in, see the HR lady, and she was a bit, all HR people, sometimes a bit, you know. And I saw her and I was scared already. I was like, oh, no. So I went to the headmaster's office. And she goes, yeah, you're not performing, you know, what we expected in the way you interviewed. And I basically was like, yeah, you're right, I'm not. Yeah. So yeah, got fired, went home to my mum and was like, you know, that degree I didn't really do much for me. It's got fired. And she was like, silence.
Wow.
Silence is worse than words sometimes, you know, and it's just like, the breath and then they walk away. I'm like, oh no.
Yeah. I'm disappointed.
Yeah. It's just the look. And I told my dad and he was like, oh, wicked. What we do next? Like he's like the total opposite. He's like, so like, he's just like a free spirit and you know,
like they look forward to the future.
Yeah. Like, you know what, like, okay, cool. So like, he was a bit like, oh, what's your mum going to say? I was like, nothing. That's the worst part. But then I said, look, I'm setting up a recruitment business because I think I had a friend who was doing it. He said he's going to mentor me. Still waiting for that mentoring. So yeah, I'm still waiting for it. I'm sure he sent me an invoice for it. I never got the mentoring though. And then yeah, recruitment was great business. You know, if you're that guy or that girl and you can do it and do the calls, oh, the money's good. Like, and you need minimal setup cost. Laptop, LinkedIn Premium, 40 quid a month. And I'm telling you, you can make thousands of pounds a month profit. So I did that for 4 years and it was kind of golden handcuffs. It was making money, but I hated it. Yeah. And I got lonely working from home alone all the time. Yeah. And then started working like in-house. And then the real kick that got me into like property, into like assets was I thought, right, if I do 40 calls in recruitment, I'll make 3 grand. Yeah. Cool. But I have to be here, sat here for 4 hours doing that. Yeah. I thought, no, hold on a minute. Surely there's got to be something that if I put time into on the front end, for the end of it, for the rest of life, it'll pay me back. And basically what I was describing was assets. And I said, you know what? Like I need to wake up. Like if I want to wake up one day and bake bread, I will. Like today I'll bake bread in the morning. Yeah. Monday. Yeah. Let's bake bread on Monday. Me, because I can. Like this was the dream. Literally, I was like, nah. Because I'd go to my desk and sit there. And then it'd be like 5 p.m. and I'd be like, so, you know, what have I done at 5 p.m.? Like looking at my thing and I'm like, I've sat at my desk all day. I don't know what the hell I've done, but it's 5 p.m. And I wanted to get rid of that feeling. Yeah. I wanted to be in a place where I could be like, okay, if I want to wake up today and do whatever I want, I can. So what came from that was assets.
Yeah.
And what then stemmed from that was property, which was,
Okay.
I want something safe.
Yeah.
I want something risk-free or minimal risk. I want something that will make money while I sleep.
Yeah.
And then it led me to property being the safest asset at that time with the money I had to invest in.
Yeah. Wow. That's insane. Wow. You said a lot.
Yeah.
And you went through a lot, and you went through a lot of trials and tribulations as well
all the
in
time,
your
man.
story. So I'm assuming that recruitment business is no longer.
Yeah, it's no longer. I just
you just sort of stopped it.
Use the money from it as
Yeah.
like a company loan
Yeah.
with a property company to, be able to invest. But yeah, it's just there.
Kind of stopped. It sounded like what you were kind of seeking was like an element of freedom for sure. And I feel like you can definitely get that in property. So I think I saw your YouTube, I saw your podcast. I'm working my way through actually your YouTube videos. And so you said you went from 0 to 15 properties in 9 months, which that's not even borderline insane. That's crazy. That's insane. That's like
that's
super
how I felt
insane,
afterwards,
like on steroids, right? Because that's more than like a property per month, right?
Yep.
So how did you actually manage to achieve that? Can you walk me through how that happened?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, it is more than a property a month. And actually it ends up being about 4, because I refurbed all of them. It wasn't just, here's the keys to rent it out.
You refurbed all 15?
All of them. So, and they're 200 miles away from home. So there was a point where I had 5 or 6 at the same time being refurbed away from home.
Yeah.
Now let me tell you something. Managing one close to home is so difficult because the builders are just dicks. Managing 5 away from home, like it actually broke me. Like I had a full breakdown. I was just like, I can't do this. This is nuts. Like I'm grateful that I've done it. And people always like, oh, Tej, I want to emulate you. Like my mentees are like, oh, I want to do the same as you. And I'm like, I really don't think you do. Like, because, it is a riskier way of doing things. I mitigated the risk, of course. But in terms of the steps, okay, so I suppose you need 2 things in property, or maybe anything actually, to work. You need money and you need deals or property.
Yeah.
This, my brand, got me the money.
Okay.
And it actually got me some
Is that
deals
because
as
you
well.
started your Instagram page?
Yes.
You're doing your documenting on YouTube?
Yeah,
as
I started this end of 2018. I hadn't done a single property viewing. Like
really?
I was new.
Yeah.
So I was literally documenting like me learning. And that's why people really connected with me, because they said, I'm in the same page as him. But like, and I'd be in a podcast asking questions that I actually wanted to know because I didn't know them.
Yeah.
Now I ask for the viewer, for the listener. But then I would be like, yeah, so what's this? I'd be like, oh, cool. So because of that, people connected with me emotionally. I was authentic from day one. I showed the reality, things going wrong, me, feeling like crap, doing this, teaching people about different structure, just helping and adding value. People then connected with that journey, got my first property, and then they saw it.
How much did you put into your first property? What was the first?
So I put £30,000 of my own money into my portfolio from day one.
Okay. So
and since then I've put in nothing.
Okay.
I might put in a couple of quid.
So you put 30,000 in the first one, and then you decided to
and then ever
start
since
raising money from other people.
Investor finance,
Okay. Why did you go down that route? What was the thinking behind that?
Didn't have enough money.
Okay. Was that because you felt like things were going too slow?
Yes. Yeah. If I use that, I had a bit more than 30 grand.
Yeah.
I think it was 50. I probably had 4 property. If I just used that and did my strategy, I would have probably bought 2 properties a year. And after like the 3rd or 4th year, that 50K would have shrunk and shrunk and shrunk. Okay. So basically, I'll be sitting to you here with, I don't know, 5 properties.
Okay.
I can't do that.
Yeah.
Like property is so slow. It's so antiquated and outdated. Everything's like a dinosaur process.
Yeah.
Each property, in my case, like single lets, like a normal family living in it, generates anywhere from, I don't know, 250 to like 450 a month profit out of London. You imagine taking 4 years to buy 5 of them just to generate a grand. I'd be pissed.
Yeah.
So I just knew, like, as soon as I did the maths, I was like, yeah, we need to get a move on here.
Yeah.
I can't just be buying, all this nonsense. And actually, it's quite common in like property in certain circles to use investor finance. It's normal.
Yeah.
For small deals, for big deals, etc. So for me, it was a case of this is normal. I need it.
Yeah.
And can I do it safely and properly and look after their money?
Okay. Wow. Okay, take me through the first deal that you did. So you put 30K, it was a refurb. Did you get it on auction, or was you just buying it from like
So I bought it from a deal sourcer,
Okay,
kind of
deal
like a
sourcer.
recruitment consultant for property. They bring you a property and say, pay us a
Yeah.
fee for bringing it to you.
Okay.
Most deal sourcers are absolute trash.
I thought you were going to say the opposite. Most are really good, but yeah.
I wish I'd have double the amount of properties if
yeah.
they were. You know what it is? Any job with a low barrier to entry, there's a lot of crap. No
True.
offense, but estate
Very,
agents,
very true.
personal trainers.
Very true.
I see a lot of injuries in the gym about to happen. I see a lot of bad because it's easy to do.
Yeah.
To be a deal sourcer, you can be on tomorrow if you want.
Yeah, it's true.
It's nothing. So
yeah.
It was from a deal sourcer. We bought it for 50 grand. So I did actually have an investor on my first deal, family member. So they put in 30 grand. I put in 30 grand. Bought it for 50.
The property for 50.
The property for 50. Cool. Stamp duty, legal fees, refurb, all in. It's in my book as well. We're in for about 62 grand. We didn't know, but we estimated the end value based off data, not just it could be this, like a lot of people do, which is so scary, to be £80,000.
Okay.
So we're like, okay, getting 50, 80, there's some fat in here. There's some money in here. Did the revaluation after 6 months, and it came back at 80.
Okay.
And now this is where the strategy might get a bit complex, but I bought the house for 50. I spent 62, and we're all in for 62. So there's 62 here. Now, it comes back valued at 80. The lender will give me on a mortgage 75% of that new value. Yeah. Obviously, with a resi, it's like they give you 90%, right? Yeah. But buy-to-let is lower. So they go, cool, we'll give you 75% of 80, which happens to be 60. So this 62 here is paid off. Yeah. I get my money back. Investor gets their money back. Yeah. There's 2.5 grand in. Okay, I'll leave that in. Fine. I've now got a house. Okay. With, once it's on the mortgage, that is netting me, was it 340 something a month profit after everything. Yeah. And I've left in £2,500. Right. So quick maths, at the end of what, 10 months or less?
Get paid off, yeah.
It's a free house. So right now it's a free house. There's no deposit. There's no. If I sell it, I will get 25% of 80 grand as my profit. Yeah. And so I did this buy, refurbish, refinance strategy over and over and over again with some flips, which is buying to sell. So what it means is if you give me 100 grand, I can pay you back. Yeah. Because I pull it out. Yeah. Whereas the old school way, which is put 25% in, leave it there.
wait for a little bit.
Get grey hairs, have 3 kids, buy another one. You know what I mean? So have your kids have kids, then buy another one. Yeah. It's just a much more efficient way. And my book is literally the guide to BR. Yeah. Because, well, there's no other book on it. Yeah. And it can be a complex strategy. Yeah. And it blows your mind. Even now, after 18 deals now, it blows my mind. I just think, I put no money in because of investors. I pulled it all out. I got a house. I still sit there just like...
It is crazy though. Wow. Yeah. Wow.
It is.
Yeah.
It's powerful, man.
Yeah. And we're definitely going to discuss a bit more about BR. I wanted to know, so currently your portfolio is still 15?
Yeah, it's 12 at the moment.
Okay, it's 12.
Because, so I bought 15 in 9 months, sold 3 of them to fill the gaps that were generated by money left in. Because some deals didn't go as expected. Yeah. Or they just left in more money and I still bought them. Okay. And then I bought 2 more since then, which were flips because I want chunks of cash. So yeah, it sits at 12 currently. 2 of them are actually serviced accommodation units, so like holiday lets. Yeah. The rest are single family, just family. Normal lets.
Why did you go down that route? Like instead of like what's the other word for it? Multiple households with multiple occupancies. Is that what is it called? Yeah.
HMOs. Yeah. So HMOs is 5 humans who don't know each other in a house, stealing each other's milk and cheese.
And people do it. Yeah. No, people do that.
100%. 100%. Oh, I can't change a light bulb, Tej. Can you come and change it for me? Like, bro, you're 27. So life out. Like you can't change a light bulb. For me, it was just a lot of work, a lot of management. Yeah. Now look, some people I know loads of people in my network do HMOs. Great. Loads of cash flow. Like it's good. They manage it. It's great. But when you put them to the side off a podcast and you say, come on, so how is it really managing it? 99% of them say, it's tough. Yeah. It's all right. Or like, yeah, it's okay. But they never say with their chest, yeah, it's easy. They never, I promise you, bring them on your podcast. They'll say it to your face with their chest, yeah, it's easy. As soon as it comes off, they won't. Yeah. And like, that's just social media. Everyone lies. I just didn't want that. But also, I like the path of least resistance to the most result.
Okay.
I like efficiency. So for me, HMOs have a much bigger refurb cost, a lot more regulation, like building regs, planning maybe, depending on the size of it. They just take longer. There's a lot more that goes into it and goes into maintaining them. I wanted the most boring vanilla property portfolio, right? Because I want it to be passive and to last me a long time. So it needs to be boring.
Yeah. Fair enough. I like that. It's so funny that you're saying boring, even though you sped up to get there. You sped up to get to boringness.
Basically, yeah.
That's cool.
I went fast and hard to just be boring. And
But because I guess you were seeking that safety. How much is that? How much income is it generating you monthly? Those 12 properties?
So anywhere from £4,000 to £5,500 a month.
Okay. Wow.
It varies because of the service accommodation. Because that's like in summer, it'll be way on the fat end. Winter, on the lower end. Wow. And also, every time a tenant leaves, the rent goes up. The market. I don't increase rent on my tenants when they're there, but when they leave, and I've had 3 or 4 leave this year, the rent goes up by £60 a month, and that's profit.
Oh wow! It's just of course, it's just going up. Huh. That's interesting. Oh my god! So is it gonna stay there? Are you gonna stay at 12? Are you looking to increase it, or are you just like, okay, this is enough?
I'm always gonna buy, right? Like I'm always gonna buy property just because it's such a good asset. But I think we touched on this at the start of the podcast. Like, I'm looking at other stuff sort of more actively. Every year if I can add 5 to it, I'm happy. Maybe add 4 to it and do 1 flip to give me a nice chunk of say 40 grand to just, I don't know, do something stupid like buy a McLaren or something. Like then I'll be fine.
Yeah.
And now I've got the teams that outsource. I don't need to visit. Right now I can get deals and the market's shifting, which is good. So I got my shopping bags ready. I can kind of do everything from my desk, from my phone. So I will continue to buy. I've got the investors as well, but nowhere near the same energy I had before.
Okay.
Because I don't need it. I'm not interested.
Yeah.
And probably just isn't. Like some people do it for their whole lives and they're passionate. And I love that for many reasons.
Yeah.
That's not me.
Yeah.
I've done what I need to do.
Okay. That's fair enough. So you feel like you've hit your end goal with it almost?
Yeah. I've probably gone more than I expected.
Yeah.
And the income is more than enough to pay the mortgage, pay the bills, live a good life.
Yeah.
Pay petrol and it's kind of, it covers everything. Plus obviously there's education income coming in. Yeah. There's like investment income.
Yeah.
So, and now I've got flip profits sitting there that also needs to be invested to generate. So I'm sort of in a position that, I wanted to, I've been in this position for a bit now, but now it's kind of in a place where, it can just really take a backseat.
Yeah, fair enough. Obviously, we don't want it to sound that this was easy. I'm sure the listeners know. Can you talk to us about some of the challenges that you had actually with? I've watched your videos, but that you've had. Yeah,
so
building your initial portfolio.
To get one property secured on a BRR or a flip, you're probably looking at 40, 80, 100 viewings, depending on the market. Yeah, because if something's listed for 80k, you're probably gonna have to buy it for 40. So you're really putting in the work, pissing off a lot of people in the progress of it, in order to get a deal. If you're doing HMOs, it's a lot less because you can offer asking sometimes because you're adding so much value. You're changing the fabric of the building. With what I'm doing, you're not. You're kind of re-adding value that they lost by letting it be deteriorated or being in bad condition. So, one of the things is, you got to put 40, viewings when I was doing it plus to get one accepted. You go to auction, you might view 40, you never win one, right? You got to read 50, 60 legal packs. And by the way, I can read them. I've learned. I've got a mind that works like that and I can understand it. And I've had help from my solicitors to learn how to. If you can't, that's 250 quid a pop for your solicitor to read it. And you can't not let them read it, right? So I've read 400 plus legal packs in my time. Maths, I'm not even going to do the maths. It's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
And so I've read 400 and I've got 6 deals from auctions. So you can see the hit ratio. Yeah, okay, I've made more money than I spent. But if you're starting out, looking at that bill and then and that even mentally having to do that, it's a lot. So there's that kind of, it's a numbers game thing at the start. Like you have to be able to put in that work. Like I've done viewings, like days of viewings, like 10, 15 viewings a day, like no lunch, nothing, just boom, 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 running around, wet socks, wet shoes, no. Like,
this is all up north?
Yeah, well, in Wales where I'm
Okay, Wales, okay.
So just, wet and cold, and just miserable. And like, but you still have to beat it, and you have to come out of the property, do the spreadsheet there and then, whilst I'm still learning because I was new, put an offer in because you need to be in there, and onto the net. And it's a lot of sacrifice, a lot of hard work, a lot of things that you wouldn't do in a 9 to 5. There's the comfort that you have in a 9 to 5 is not there. Dealing with everyone in property seems to be a dinosaur. Solicitors, land registry, accountants, but oh god, like my team are amazing. My solicitor, my broker, everyone. Like my broker's incredible. Big up Shaz. But most are not.
Yeah.
Like in life, I suppose there's an average and there's a top 10%. Yeah. Dealing with builders, there's a bottom 99% of builders, which is all of them. and then there's a top 1%. Like I promise you, like anyone doing their refurb is going to know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And there'll be some people commenting saying, "Oh, I've had really good builders." It's probably because your uncle, bruv. Like, like honestly, dealing with builders is just.
That's the part that I like when I think about property. That's the part that scares me the most because I feel like everything else is almost binary in a way.
It is, yeah.
Like if they don't do it, but like with that, it's almost a bit more subjective.
How do you know if they're plastered right? Exactly. Till the ceiling falls on your head.
Yeah.
And I've had this, like, and again, like people don't have enough construction knowledge, and YouTube and books are incredible for this. But they go into a refurb, like I said, just we'll find a builder, and they'll do it, and then it'll be done. Yeah. It's like no, like there's so much shit that goes into it. Even finding a builder takes. Like for my own residential, I've spoken to 40 plasterers. I've had about 8 quoting, and I finally picked one. For my cottage I just did, I spoke to about 120 trades in total, and then I picked 6 worked on the house.
Wow.
That's me sitting there getting part of, I'm not free until next September. Or them coming over and saying, 40 grand for a 20 grand job. So there's a lot of that numbers game thing, but obviously from that comes grit, comes determination, comes patience, comes knowing why you're doing this. Because if you haven't got a strong why, you're not going to sift through this many builders. You're going to say, oh, I can't be bothered, Yeah. So, working with builders in itself is like a, yeah, man, it's
seem broken from it.
I'm broken from it. That's why like now I only work with one builder and he's incredible.
Yeah.
And I trust him and he like, and I've never found anyone like him since. Like there's always something. There's always, I've had one builder once call me, be like, "Oh, Tej, can you transfer 57p to my account? I need to get a little plastic." I was like, bro, how are you running a business, a successful business, when you're asking them for 57p to cash flow you? I was like, and imagine on the phone, I had to be like, yeah, buddy, no worries, send me the receipt. I put the phone down and was like, Is this for real? 57p. I was like, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
Look, to be fair, he did a new roof for like $2,000. Normally it's 5. So you get what you pay for, innit?
Yeah.
But there's so many challenges. Like, I know, man. This is like even interior design. Like, I love it, right? And it's so important to selling a house and making it a house that people fall in love with.
Yeah.
Takes hours. Like my wife now, because I'm doing it for our house, she's like, "Oh my god, you spent like 25 hours on a kitchen." I was like, yeah, and that's the hours you saw.
Yeah.
Like there's hours of me in bed being like, do I want blue? Do I want green? How do we do it? What's synced up? Like there's so much that goes into it that people don't realize. And they just think, oh, I've got 50 grand. Let me just buy a property and do it up. It's just not going to work like that for people. Like people need a reality slap or reality check. Like it's not that easy. And it's not like, say you start making tables. Yeah. You're a furniture table maker. If I make this table here, I'm going to lose 20 quid on the MDF, about 30 quid on the legs if I flop it. If you invest in property and you flop it, you're losing 20, 30, 40 grand, 50 grand, 500 grand in London.
Yeah.
Like, unless you got that money to play with, if you have, come talk to me. Unless you got that money to lose, like, stop being an idiot.
Yeah.
That's what I say to people.
That's crazy. So how can people, I guess, make sure, like, lower their risk, I suppose?
Okay. Education is the way. Education and mentorship. Like, there's free stuff like this podcast, like my podcast, like my YouTube, etc. that you've seen. So consume that stuff. And there's so many hours of content. We both know like tens, hundreds of hours of content. So much. Obviously, find who you like and who's realistic. You got books, which are, I suppose, the next level, 10, 15, 20 quid each. Go on Amazon, set yourself 100 quid budget, find the best books on property. 2 of them are mine, and read them. Look at the reviews as well, right? People, reviews are there to help you make purchasing decisions. The next level above that is like paid education. This is a minefield because, and you may see it in other sectors as well, and you probably see it in property, people in property, a lot of people in property are not authentic when they're selling something.
Yeah.
They promise a reality, financially free in 7 days, first deal in a month. And then people do their courses because society, we're stupid and we're shallow and we want this shortcut. We want a 6-pack in a week. Doesn't happen. We believe it. We do the course and then it doesn't happen for us. And we say, you told me it was going to happen. And they say, yeah, but it's your fault. You didn't work hard enough. Or you're not the top 10%. Sorry.
Yeah.
And then so there's this like chicken and egg where it's like society, we're stupid and shallow. We believe this crap and we're vulnerable to it because we hate our jobs and want to get out of it. I get it. But then we've got people preying on that and people who are really good at advertising.
Yeah.
And it's basically a vicious circle of expectation, reality, and a lack of authenticity. So people have to be really, really careful when they're looking for education to look for, you know, people's reviews of doing it. What are people who've done it? What are they doing? Look at the person's brand. Like if they're not posting downsides, they're not posting reality. It's simple as that. Every day we have something go wrong in life. And if someone's not showing that at all, it's fake.
Yeah.
Even if you could say, oh, but they're just not showing it. Okay, but that's still fake. Because you can't present a brand or an image. I can't say I'm a property developer and just show you the profit and the good stuff here whilst being like, yeah, it was tough. Yeah, cool. Anyways, no. I'm like, it was tough and we made some money. No, that's cool. But it was flipping tough. And so that's missing. So people really need to do their research on education. Like do the free stuff, do the cheap paid stuff, and then do your research. Like I said, if they're not showing the downsides, fake.
Yeah, I remember a video of yours. I think it was, it might have been your first property actually. I remember the one, what was, what had happened? I think you had bought it off somebody who was supposed to do some refurb. They hadn't done any. Yes,
this is the deal saucer. Yeah.
They hadn't done any refurb on it. The whole thing, that sounded like a nightmare. Yeah, that one sounded like a nightmare.
And I've had that over and over and over. Yeah. You know, I've had times where like, and just thinking about it, I'm not an anxious person. Yeah, like I can talk, I can get on stage, I've danced in front of thousands of people. I've performed. You know, I have no shame. I have no anxiety about anything. Yeah. But when you're doing a refurb, and when I wake up, and I think a lot of people do this, I don't like looking at my phone. I like doing my meditation, doing my thing, and then looking at my phone. When you have refurbs on, you either get woken up by a builder, fighting another builder, classic, or you get woken up to, oh, sorry, mate, can't do this. This is broken. Like, you should flipping, like, don't come to me with problems, come to me with solutions. And there's a lot of anxiety around, even now I'm doing my own house, of like, oh, is it gonna go well? Is it gonna go well? Like, you know, if I see my plumber message me, I'm like, what now? What, you know, like it's, and actually it's been okay on this, to be fair, but I still have that feeling in my stomach of like, shit, what's wrong now? Yeah, you know what I mean? And you're under time pressure because you've got investor finance, you've got to pay them back. You got the fact that every month means you're making less money because you're paying, and so you know, there's a lot of and this is for someone who doesn't get anxious, doesn't worry. I'm so carefree. I'm so chilled. That as a person, I'm just like, whatever. Like, things don't bother me. I'm feeling like this. Like, if you're someone who has anxiety or feels, you know, it gets easily stressed, like, this is going to be, don't come and say, I want to do what Tej did. Okay. Like, because, like, you don't. Yeah. Like, I barely scraped by and did it, like, without being scarred. And I'm definitely scarred. We're all scarred from life. Like, so it just takes, and you were saying, you know, like the kind of issues, it just takes such a strong person. You can become a strong person to deal with it. Yeah. But yeah, that anxiety is just like, and people have messaged me on like Instagram to my story saying, I feel the same thing. Yeah. That refurb anxiety is real, man. Like it's not spoken about. Of course it's not, like, because mental health isn't spoken about enough. It's tough.
Wow. Talking about anxiety, interest rate rises. I'm sure that must have given the whole of the UK anxiety. How has that, like, has that had an impact on, I guess, your portfolio?
No, because because I fixed it for 5 years. 2 years ago. Because I did a calculation. Me and my broker, we sat down and did a calculation and said, if we fix it for 2 years, it's cheaper. But if you fix it for 5 years, it's meant to be more expensive. But all the fees, all the legal fee, everything taken into consideration over a 10-year period, the time, not financial advice, it was better to do 2 5-year fixes than to do 5 2-year fixes. So I said, and it's less hassle. So I said, let me do 5 years. So I had one expire a few months ago. And yeah, that was unfortunately when the rates went like crazy high. Yeah. I think my mortgage increased by 35 quid a month. Okay. But then my rates have gone up on that service accommodation. Yeah. So it hasn't really affected me. I think inflation affects us all, obviously. But no real effect. Okay. Let's see in a year or 2 or 3 where we are. But you see the news headlines. People are selling up. People can't afford.
Yeah.
I've seen the people's like stories where they're like, yeah, now the mortgage is at 500 quid a month, the rent's at 550. He ain't making no money. So
yeah,
one person's misfortune is another person's fortune, because I can buy that house and I can make money off that, and that's like it is what it is. It's just a circle of business and a circle of life.
Yeah. Do you think buy to let is still viable though in this current environment?
I think it is. Yeah. It's definitely not as viable as it was.
Yeah.
Single lets are definitely harder. Rents have gone up as well though, so it is viable. They haven't gone up as much. They haven't. No, they haven't. No, and they don't go up as crazy.
Yeah.
Like interest rates just jump, and you're like, it's nonsense. I mean, rates are coming back down though for mortgages, definitely. Even though I think the Bank of England just increased it, and I think they're gonna again in the future. It is viable. It just means you have to get an even better deal, which means even more work. And this is why, so when periods like this happen, I'm like a bear. I just hibernate. I just take it easy. Like, am I gonna do 80 viewings now when I used to do 40 to get one deal? No. Yeah. I'm just gonna do stuff like this all day.
Yeah. I'm chilling on podcasts. Yeah.
On podcasts, play FIFA. Like I'm not gonna be inefficient when I don't need that property right now. I don't need the risk of rates going up or like having to squeeze everything out of this deal. Like, nah, I'm good.
Yeah.
See you in a few months.
Yeah.
Bye.
Cool.
Not everyone has that luxury.
Yeah.
I've worked to a position where like I can do that.
Yeah.
And it's a choice as well. But it is viable. It's hard. It's
just made it harder. Okay. And has it made it harder on the flipping side as well, do you think?
To an extent, because I suppose like my residential mortgage, I don't know what it is. It's like 4.8. It's too
wow.
Yeah. I remember when we first looked like a year or so ago, it was like 2.2, 1 point isn't. But because I'm self-employed, because, blah, 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 one lender was available and it was slightly more expensive, but it was still market rate. So situations like that, like I'm looking at, people are looking at their mortgages to buy the house and they're saying, maybe I'll just stay put, because I can't afford, and bills going up. And, when I get my Tesco order, other supermarkets are available, I look at the basket and say, what? Boss man, I paid £70 and that's what I'm getting now. I used to get a lot more for this amount of money. And so with all that combined, yes, people buying, they're going to be in lower numbers. They're going to be more like knocking your price down. I think that's been happening. It's been reported that prices are coming down. Again, you got to have a better deal.
Yeah.
You got to hibernate. You got to, maybe wait it out a little bit. There's various things you can do to like reduce the risk on a kind of micro level, but it does make it harder. I mean, I'm lucky I sold 2 of my flips just before this madness.
Yeah.
If I was selling one now, I'd probably expect to get chipped on the price.
Really?
Whereas before, I was sitting there like this, like, how much you offer me? What are you bringing to me? Like I was Henry VIII or something, like literally like what you bringing to the table.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, please.
Yeah.
I'd be like, please, sir, can I have something? Like, that's the market, feast and famine. It's just the market.
Yeah. And I feel like that's some of the pitfalls. I was thinking, flipping sounds so cool, but what are the pitfalls? And it sounds like in a potential recession, you might lose out on it. Look, spend all this money and
people are still moving houses.
Yeah.
People are still buying.
Yeah.
But you may have to take a hit.
Yeah.
And that's like we're all taking a hit, right? Like we're getting less from our shopping, we're spending more on fuel, maybe not going out as much, although I don't know, you take a walk around London.
I know, London.
Recession where? Who? Like,
I know. I was thinking there's no recession in this city, man.
And like the Christmas shopping, I'm like, seeing people with, I'm like, okay, so bills, what, you're just not putting heating on, but you're, so it's crazy. I don't know what you see in the media and what you see in the streets. And I appreciate it's a certain group of like society, etc. Yeah, the market's always going to affect you, but it's also not good to have the mindset of, I'll wait. Like people said, I'll wait till after Brexit. Oh, COVID happened. I'll wait after COVID. Oh, now we're post-COVID, so I'm waiting for. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It's like, what are you waiting for? Like Michael Jackson to come back? Like, you have to just. It's not wait and buy property. It's buy property and wait.
Yeah, I like that. I was wondering because flipping. I watched a few of your videos. What realistically in this current environment, what would you say is like the minimum amount somebody would need if they were to flip?
So
looking at investor finance, maybe some of that.
So the easiest way, because the number varies depending on where you are. London, it's I don't know, 300 grand.
Yeah.
In the north, it's 30 grand.
Yeah.
The easiest thing to do is simple. Is to say, right, I need 25% of purchase price as a deposit minimum. I then need about 4% in fees. So you're probably about 29%. Let's just call it 30 just to get the keys,
Okay.
right? And now to refurb it, you're probably looking at another, in most cases for a flip, probably 15 to 30 to 40% of purchase price.
Okay.
So 100 grand house, you need 30 grand deposit, fees, and to get the keys. On top of that, you need 15, 20, 30, 40 grand to refurb it and flip it.
Okay.
So add them up together. That's how much you need in cash.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be your cash, but it's how much you need in cash, because the 75%, a bridging loan, a bridging company, which is like a mortgage for a short-term like refurb, they'll give you that.
Yeah.
So all you need is 20, well, not all you need, it's a lot of money. You need the 25% plus the fees of 5% plus a refurb of 15 to 40%. Most of the time for a flip, it ends up being 40 to 50% of purchase price in cash, some type of cash, to do a flip, to get the keys, do a flip, and have the keys at the end and say, put it on the market.
Yeah. Yeah. How have you found that yourself? Because you've done a few. How have you found doing
As in how I found flips?
Yeah, how have you found the general process of doing it? Because obviously, I guess you can do a bit of a comparison. So you've got the buy to let that you have bringing you stable cash, and then you've got the flips, which you're doing a bit of, work to them and then trying to sell.
Yeah, I mean, it is always sad selling a house because you know that it's an asset and it could work. Sometimes it doesn't work to keep it. Like the numbers just don't work to keep because the price is so high, but the rent is not as high. Like in London, so the yield's not very big.
Yeah.
But I think apart from that, like I prefer flips because I can spend more.
Yeah.
I can have a better kitchen, a better bathroom. I can go proper high end and functional. But whereas in a rental, it's more, mine are good looking and they're better than most, I would say. But they're still functional, durable. They're not as sexy, stylish, crazy as I do in my flips. So I prefer flips for that sense. I like cash flow. I like having chunks of cash. I probably prefer having chunks of cash, to be fair, because it's like people want passive income. Okay, let's say my portfolio is bringing in 50 grand a year. I did one flip that bought me 58 grand, I think it was.
Wow.
Let's say it was meant to bring me, I think it was more than 58. It was meant to bring me a lot more, but got delayed, long story, blah, blah. Like, let's say it bought me 50. Would I rather have 50 grand month by month from humans who could decide not to pay rent and in this country get away with it? Or do I want 50 grand up front and I'll just pay myself monthly? Which one is truly passive? It's the lump of cash.
Yeah.
I started thinking about that. I thought, yeah, this makes sense. Like, okay, there's no capital appreciation. Fine, I've sold the house. Okay, but if you give me 50 grand, I bet you I can make 20% on it doing something.
Yeah.
So I'm starting to prefer flips because I've already got an existing portfolio. But I think doing a balance of both is really, really important.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you feel like you'll do more of that in 2023?
I think I will. It depends, because as I launch my restaurant business and I buy businesses, if they are generating a good lump of kind of cash flow per month, then I'll probably will look more heavily at flips to get the big chunks every, few months or so. If, maybe they're not so cash flowy and they're more lumpy cash for whatever reason, type of business it is, then I'll look to getting more cash flow in. I do want to build the portfolio though, just to have more assets, more equity.
More assets, right?
Exactly, well, exactly, right? So it will definitely be a case of what's the market saying? What's the spreadsheet saying? What is my life spreadsheet saying? Like, where do I need to be at? And it'll be a combination. It's always a combination for me of spreadsheet and what I want to do. Yeah. Spreadsheet says no.
Yeah.
Like,
is the spreadsheet like your numbers and
the numbers per deal?
Okay.
So like people say to me, oh, Tej, what's the minimum you'd accept? What's this? And I say, well, look, if your spreadsheet isn't working out, like don't do the deal. Like what does your spreadsheet say? Like, is this a good deal? What does your spreadsheet say? Okay. Because what's a good deal for you is not a good deal for me and vice versa. So it's all about having that spreadsheet that's tailor-made as well, or tailor-edited to suit your requirements. Yeah. And also knowing what you want. Like you could be happy with a 10% return on your property. I'm not. I'm getting 40, 50 unlimited because there's no money in. But if you're happy with that, don't look at me and say, I need those Tej deals. No, do your 10% deals. Like, and if you get more, perfect. Everyone's happy, So do what works for you.
Yeah. Wow. That's incredible. Sorry. I just literally forgot the question on my head. I was wondering, I'll let you drink some water. 2023, so you said that you buy property in Wales, mostly in Wales. Is that where you'll be looking at in 2023, continue Wales, or will you start to move to somewhere else?
The government is a bit, they're socialist. no issue with socialism, but they're backwards.
Okay.
And they have a lot of policies that go against, they hate landlords like all governments seem to do. Misdirected energy, I think. And I think it's going to be a tough place to invest as we move forward.
Okay.
However, my builder is there, my team is there, everything is there. So, it depends. I'm going to keep, keeping an eye on the government and the regulations and the things they're bringing in. I'm not sort of afraid of doing it close. I've done like 2 deals close to me.
Yeah.
I actually somewhat prefer them far away now because they're like, hear no evil, see no evil. Like my builder deals with it all, they're done.
Yeah.
So I will continue there because I've spent years building my network and my people there. It just makes sense. However, let's see what the government do because that is an important point.
Yeah. And I was wondering, like throughout our conversation, you were mentioning a few things that you look at. What other things do you look at when you're assessing a deal, whether it's viable for you to go forward with it?
So spreadsheet is key.
Yeah.
Like if spreadsheet doesn't work, nothing else matters. Yeah. But things like, is it close to an employer, hospital, industrial park? Is it in a nice area? Google Street View can tell you this.
Yeah.
How do you feel when you walk around the area? Are these houses like standard or non-standard construction? Is it a council estate? Is it not? Yeah. And again, there's stigma around council estate, but some of these houses are so well built, but you also got to consider the rents might be different, the perception might be different. I also look at like garden size now, especially with COVID, like post-COVID. I know it's always cold and rainy here, but people still like a certain size of garden, not too big. The space in the house, what can we do here? If it's a 2-bed, can we make a 3-bed? If not, fine. I look at the main thing is a spreadsheet is like, are there comparables on this street that mean this is a good deal, or is it priced so close to that end value that this is just a write-off?
Yeah.
So it's pretty much spreadsheet. Once I've done the area research, which takes hours and hours and hours, and a lot of, like false starts and changing direction, things like that. Once you've done that, it really is focused on that spreadsheet.
Yeah.
The employer stuff is important, but people will still live like I do in the middle of nowhere in a hamlet in the countryside because they want to,
Yeah.
Like, where I live, for example, we're renting at the moment, there are like 29 viewings on it. And when I say hamlet, there's like 60 people, like more chickens than humans. Like it's proper countryside.
Yeah.
It's close to a lot of towns, but that's the demand on it.
Yeah.
And when houses go for sale on here, they're gone. So, there's a target market for everyone and everything. There's a standard, close to employers and hospitals, but there's also people like to live where they like to live.
They're like, just like the countryside sometimes.
Yeah. So
quiet and peace.
But it is mainly spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Like, because if the numbers don't work, you can't force them to work.
Yeah.
And if they don't work, nothing else matters. It could be the best street in the best. But if it doesn't work, why am I doing it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's
very, very true. Very, very true. Throughout our conversation, I was trying to figure out, like, for a lot of, especially beginners, they'll say, okay, we're gonna do all the education, we're gonna learn from whoever we need to learn from. But for some people, I guess they're in that little bit of a pickle where maybe they don't have a high earning job, so they maybe not be able to pull up the deposit themselves. But then raising money, like, what would be their credibility to even raising money anyway? They wouldn't have any, right? So they're almost in a catch-22. There's nothing they can really do. So I guess on that point, I know that there's other ways that people, I know that you're starting a series, and I wanted to bring it here on the podcast if possible. So you did one where talking about how can you start with property 1,000, but instead of 1,000, let's go a bit higher, 5,000. So how could somebody start in property with 5,000 or less, for example?
So the first obvious way is you don't start 5K. You keep saving, you keep earning, keep investing to get more. Secondly, you can spend some of that on your education, which will teach you how to raise finance, how to do what you need to do. And your self-education, networking events, just being, a better person, I suppose. The actual property strategies you can do, one is deal sourcing. Great way to get into the best way to get into property, because you do the whole sequence, from start, refurb, everything, but just for someone else. Decent money as well. And you get in bed with estate agents, build it. It's just great for you to start. Like I said, many of them are bad. So there's deal sourcing, and you can do that for less than 5K. Like there's rent to rent, which is, some people call it subleasing. Essentially, you're the landlord. I come and say, right, you got a big 6-bed house. I'm going to give you $3,000 a month. You normally get 3.5, but I'm guaranteeing it. No maintenance, nothing. You're like, all right, have it. Hear no evil, nothing. I then rent it out per room for whatever, or I do a service accommodation, I then make $5,000 a month.
Yeah.
After cost, blah, 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 I'm netting 800 quid a month difference. You're getting your rent paid. You're happy. I'm happy. Everyone's happy if it works out. Now, I say $5,000 or less because you probably might have to paint the place.
Yeah.
You know, you might have to furnish it, maybe pay you a deposit or like the first month's rent, things like that. So sort of anywhere from like 3 to sort of 10K is good for a rent to rent, depending on area. That's a very, very popular strategy for beginners. I looked at it. I just didn't need to do it. So deal sourcing, rent to rent, or you just keep saving or you invest in yourself.
And this is to help you build that initial pot so you can progress in property.
And you have a bit of a case study. Even if it's rent to rent, you can still say to someone, look, we're adults. We can do this property business, you know, let's talk about investing, you know. Having a case study or any experience, the doors just go boop,
it's
and
true.
everyone runs in.
Because
they trust you now a bit more.
It's true. And you are learning actually on the job. It's just on the job learning, and hopefully you can, you know, get a bit better. I wanted to ask you this question. So if you were to restart property again, what would you do differently?
As crazy as it is, I'd buy more houses.
You do what you did, but just a bit crazier.
But crazy because COVID hit, right?
Okay,
and if COVID didn't hit,
it
would have been 20 properties in like 12 months. Like it would have been more.
Okay.
So for me, as much as it broke me, when you look back, you're like, it broke me, but I'm not in that moment now. I'm good. So it's like hindsight, right? You're like, that was really tough. I really hated that, and it really annoyed me. I'll do it again. You know what I mean? It's like that toxic thing that we do as humans. But I also know the result of it is so good. So I genuinely would buy more properties. And I would have if it wasn't for COVID. You know what? To be fair, I would have had a mentor. I think I just got by with like the free education, and because I started a podcast. So I was interviewing people. So
you're kind of getting mentorship. In a way. It's very strange because I'm sure you didn't start the podcast for that reason, but it just kind of became that too.
But I think I would have had a mentor who like I could go to, even just for my sanity, like every week or month, and be like, dude, my builder said this. Is this true? Like I'm struggling with this, or like I'm raising finance. I've done these 4 methods. What else can I do? You know, or for them to be like, how's the project going? Show me the pic. You know, like I do with my mentees. I know the difference it makes in some of them. Some of them are achieving incredible things already. And I know the conversations they're having with me. I think I didn't have anyone to have these conversations with. I just had to talk to myself, you know, or people, my friends in my network. And that's never a mentee relationship. As much as it is casually, it's never like, so what are you doing? Why haven't you done your targets? Why haven't you hit this? You know, and so I think having a mentor would have guided me along the way a lot better. And I would have bought more houses, and I would have just been healthier in a few ways, and it would have just guided me. It would have given me something that I didn't have, and you know, probably had less issues. Like I've had so many cowboy refurbs that now I think I'm clear of them, but up until maybe 6 months ago I was getting calls saying, hey Tej, this fell off or this came off, and I'm like, that was Cowboy Chris who did that. Wow. And I'm like, I didn't even remember, like I had to fix. I don't think I'd have those if I had a mentor. Like if I really seriously had a mentor, like, right, we're doing it once a week because I needed it that much, given how much I was growing for 6 months, done. Like it would have I would have been even more of a monster in a machine. Wow.
I love that. Absolutely love that. And you mentioned at the beginning, property sounding like you might just be going away. What's the reason for that?
Property is so antiquated, it's so outdated. Everyone's a dinosaur. It's just we need properties on the blockchain as NFTs. You know, like we're just so far from the rest of the world in tech. And as someone who's impatient and someone who can't stand injustice, or I mean, a big word to use for like the sector being really old, but like who can't stand like just dumb things. Like if you're a painter, but you can't paint well, why? You're not a painter, you're an idiot. Do you know what I mean? Like your job title is idiot. So like things like that I can't stand. And same with property. I'm like, why haven't you responded to my email? So why is it taking you 6 weeks to shuffle your papers? Like shuffle them and get them, like, you know what I mean? Like, and so I just think this is stupid. For the result, this is stupid. So that annoys me. And I was always going to set up a restaurant and like a garage, or maybe like a branding it. I was always going to do this stuff. And right now I'm at an expiry date, expiry period of, I've gone off, you know what I mean? I'm getting dashed out the supermarket back. Like I'm out of date for property. I've done what I need to do. I will always buy property, like I said, because it's an asset. Like I'll always buy stocks. But I just have an interest in so many other things. And I need that change because my mind, and again, probably another reason why I haven't produced content apart from life is because I haven't been driven to be passionate about making that content. And so because of that, it's time for a change. I've got so many things I'm interested in, I want to talk about, right? Health, fitness, cars, branding, businesses, food. There's so much I'm passionate about. I can't really talk about it when it's Tej Talks property. And also, you notice it doesn't say property on my brand.
Yeah. Okay. So you already started making. Okay.
This was from day one.
So
So I knew in 2018 that Tej Talks is going to be more than property.
Yeah.
Which is why I never had it printed or on any.
Smart foresight.
Yeah.
Wow. So the next thing for you sounds like it's going to be the restaurant. When's that? When are you planning to launch that?
I'm trying to buy restaurants at the moment instead to kind of.
Are you going to buy it and then change or buy to learn?
Case by case. So I'm trying to buy businesses in general. One of them being restaurants. If, it doesn't happen by February, I can't buy one, I'll launch sort of end of Feb time. But right now I'm focused on changing my brand. I've got like a group of my friends in like a focus group. And we're going through how it's going to change, where it's going to change, how we're going to do it. When that happens, and that'll take a bit of time and everything needs to change. And I've got to record lots of podcasts. I'm building like a studio in my office at home.
Love that.
Yeah. So it's gonna be nice. Once that happens, then I can launch it. But I mean, I'm at the stage of not ready to launch, but the research is like I've got huge spreadsheets and documents. We're getting good to go pretty soon.
Just need to launch.
Just
need to launch. Thank you so much, Tej. It's been amazing speaking to you today. Where can people find you?
So if you type Tej Talks into anywhere, you should find me straight away. But Instagram is probably the easiest place to get hold of me. But YouTube, Amazon, any podcast player, including Spotify. Find me. Facebook as well. But Instagram is where I respond the most.
Awesome. Do you have any final words for the listeners?
Oh, final words.
Yeah.
If you're going to do something, do it properly. And if you're going to commit to something, commit fully. And it's okay if it doesn't work out. It's okay if it fails. It's okay to make mistakes. But don't go into something half-assed and don't spend too long reading, analyzing. The amount of people who say, oh, Tej, I've spent 3 years just learning. I'm like, you're an idiot. What have you spent? How, it's not that deep. Okay, there's a lot to learn, but come on. So people, take action. Don't get stuck in analysis paralysis. Speak to us. Speak to someone who's doing what you want to do and do what you want to do.
Yeah. Fantastic. Amazing. As you hear it, ladies and gentlemen, listeners, you've heard it from the man himself, Tej Talks. It's been great speaking to you. Thank you so much for being transparent and just giving us a complete understanding of what it takes to because I think it's very easy for many people to be like, oh my God, he got 15 properties in 9 months. I'm just going to jump into it. And they don't understand what the realities of it is and how difficult it is. It's not that it's not possible. It is. It's just very difficult to do.
Agreed, very.
And you do there are steps to it because obviously, you had several things that a lot of other people weren't doing or wouldn't be doing, right? You started a podcast, you put yourself out there, you were building a brand, and at the same time, a lot of people wouldn't be doing that, So really, really grateful to have you here on the podcast. Listeners, watchers, I hope that you've enjoyed this episode of Take Experience, and we'll see you next week.